Hi everyone, Anne in Paris. It looks like I won another war this morning. It's called the language barrier war. You know, they are right, you do need to speak French in this country, but the people are gorgeous. You have to have patience with this language barrier. Actually, I want to demonstrate this because I'm fed up with tourists that I run into in Paris, that come to Paris and, you know, they say, oh, the French are arrogant and they don't talk to people, and this is completely untrue. It is just a language barrier, and you have to be very, very patient with it, because we need to remember that this is a non-English speaking country. And, you know, I don't speak French very well. I can just about greet people in French because I'm learning through an e-learning program. You know, everything is online and I really need resources. But when you don't have that readily in front of you and you have to talk to police or managers, for instance, here at Pret-a-Manger, and they're not very proficient in English, it can be a problem. But don't mistaken that for arrogance, because it's not arrogance. We are in France, and I repeat, this is a non-English speaking country. So whatever the misunderstandings arise from that, people, I take it. Anyhow, just a few examples. Yesterday I was running my trolley. Actually, I was walking it, but very quickly, because I was getting to a business that had job vacancies, and I'm still unemployed, homeless, and looking for work. So I was walking the trolley down Champs-Elysees, which is the major road just back here, and it's full of shops and it's a tourist attraction, you know. It's very gorgeous, actually, full of designer shops and shops that you wouldn't see anywhere else in the world. Some of the shops that are there are really something to see. Lots of people taking photos. It's completely normal. This is Paris and everything here is beautiful. So to cut a long story short, I was pushing the trolley down the main drag at Champs-Elysees, and you know, the police came up and they looked at the trolley and they said, this is forbidden. And I'm thinking, it's not the prettiest trolley in the world. Look, I'll try and give you, there it is in the background. There's a quick snapshot. And, you know, it's not everybody's cup of tea, but some people are actually loving the initiative of looking for work. And there's the sign. There's even a bigger one on the other side, if you can see it. It says work wanted. Everything is in English. Anyway, and they came up to me with regards to the trolley and they said, oh, this is forbidden, you can't push this down here. And they were pointing at the signs, and of course they didn't speak very good English, and I don't speak French, and some of the conversation was in French, and they were pointing at the signs. And so I thought, because being a major road, you know, a tourist attraction, and having, you know, lots of advertising, I thought it was an advertising issue. So, you know, the signs only said that I was looking for work, and I wasn't soliciting or harassing anybody. I was actually chasing businesses with vacancies. But again, they said something in French, and these are the police, you have to comply, you know, they are authority. And in this country, they do a very good job. There's certainly first world standards over here with law enforcement, and I respect that. And they said, this is forbidden. And I said, but I have to get to the other side, you know, pointing to the Arc de Triomphe, which is where I was going. And the shops were around there with vacancies, the retail outlets. And they said, you have to go round. So I took the trolley and I went round the back. Took the back streets and got lost. But that's all right, it's all good. Anyhow, I finally got to where I needed to go. And then this morning, a police officer said, you can take your trolley wherever you want. And he was very proficient in English. He's actually a very, very good police officer. I would just about trust this man with my life. He's brilliant. And I think his name is Maximus. I can't remember, but I don't like divulging information anyway. Their information online, because it's, you know, it's privacy. But I don't know if that's his name. But anyway, he's a really, really respectable police officer, and he always does his best to help in English when I go to that station with questions, which I often do because it's hard to communicate with other police officers who aren't proficient in English, you know, and you try and prevent these misunderstandings. And I was there this morning making a police statement because my jacket, Canadian Goose jacket, was stolen from my trolley. And anyway, that's another story. And he said to me, just to finish up with this situation at Champs-Elysees, He said, no, he goes, it's your trolley, you can take it wherever you want. He said the only requirement by law is that you can't leave it unattended. So I think maybe at some point I did leave it unattended because I had to go upstairs looking for work. You know, there's an international company here on the main drag, Champs-Elysees, and right upstairs is where the office entrance is, so I had to leave the trolley unattended downstairs, raced upstairs, gave my CV and came back down, and that might have been what they were talking about. But anyway, and he said the only thing is that you can't leave the trolley unattended. Now, he was very proficient in English and there were no misunderstandings there, so that was understood. So I came back down Champs-Elysees this morning and it was all good. And the other thing I wanted to say as well, then we had another issue yesterday when the police asked me to take the back roads because of the signage on the trolley. As I said, that was a misunderstanding, as I just explained. Another man, a French man, he stopped me and he gave me 3 vouchers for the restaurant vouchers. You know, employers give them here to their employees to eat at local restaurants, and they're worth €8-9 a lot of the time. He had 3 and he gave them to me. So I took those vouchers and I walked for 4 hours trying to find a pret-a-manger place because that's where you can use the vouchers easily with the card that I have, and I put them on a prepaid card, and because I don't have any money, that card is empty if I don't put vouchers on there. It's not a Visa card, it's just a pret-a-manger prepaid card, and I put the vouchers on there so I can come and have a coffee in the mornings, you know, when I choose, especially when I'm researching local businesses and I need access to Wi-Fi and charge. So anyway, that was another story. And of course, the example I want to make here is when you get lost and you can't speak French, you know, you have to make sure you've got a map on you so you can point, but you know, they still need to know where you're going. So you have to communicate that in French. So guys, I really need to learn French. And everyone else who's thinking of coming to Paris, it's a gorgeous place. The people are awesome, they really are, and they try hard to help. But if you can speak French, then there is no language barrier issue and you should be able to get around very easily. And that's where my biggest problems are. So anyway, that's issue number 2. We had issue number 3 this morning. Again, another language barrier. Look, it's all good at the end of the day because it helps me as well with the next situation to communicate with them. You know, I have to use sign language. I have to make prepaid communication in writing on my touchpad. And then I save it and I put everything on Google Translate, and it helps you to be a little bit more organized next time. But this morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I had the tent erected there in front of the 8th District Police Station, and they came knocking at 5 o'clock in the morning, and these weren't from the 8th District, these police officers were from another district, and they didn't speak very good English, and the senior one didn't speak any English, it sounded, because he couldn't communicate with me except for pointing to the tent and said, pack up and go, you know, you're not allowed. And so, and the second police officer, he spoke broken English and he tried really hard to help, and they do try and help. And I have an agreement with the 8th District Police Station now that I'm looking for work around here. 1, for safety reasons, and 2, because I'm looking for work in this district, to have my tent in that location. And it's next to Saint Clement. I'm sorry, I can't say that properly, but it's a statue. It's Clement Road, or Rue du Clement, or forgive my French. And I have an agreement with that police to put it up here. And I tried to communicate with them because I was told by police at the 8th District that if anyone has an issue with this, send them, you know, they can talk to us, so you can send them over. And so I tried to communicate this with them in English, and I was saying, no, it's okay, I have an agreement with the police on the 8th District to have the tent here, and it comes down in the morning, it doesn't stay up, you know, I understand, it is a tourist area. And the man who was speaking broken English was trying to translate between me and the senior officer who didn't speak English. You know, traveling is fun. You learn a lot about yourself, and this is one of these things, one of those things. And he said, no, he was trying to explain that you can put your tent behind the building or on the other side of the road where it's not in view of the police station. And And I said, look, we're having a safety issue with a homeless man unknown to me who has attempted to break into the tent twice already. And the third time he disturbed the tent at 3 in the morning. Excuse me, that was at 5 in the morning while I was still in it. And I was trying to explain this to them. And this is part of the reason I have agreed with police across the road to put it here only overnight while I sleep, and I have complied with taking it down in the morning. And of course they didn't hear much of what I said, and I can't understand what they said. And he's like, no, he goes, no, pack and go, and this was 5 o'clock in the morning. And I said, where do I go at 5 o'clock in the morning? He said, pack and go. They're police, you know, they're authorities, and you have to do your best to comply when you are in a foreign country, especially when you don't speak the language. Because I would like them to understand that I'm a law-abiding citizen, but at the moment I have a financial problem. I am looking for work, and this is the current situation with the tent. It's a homelessness issue. But between me and them, there's no issue with the police here except for a communication barrier, and that's nobody's fault. So anyway, I packed up the tent, and then I realised that my jacket was stolen, my Canadian Goose jacket. It's worth €200 that someone had actually given to me. I didn't buy it, and in it were 2 restaurant tickets worth €9 each, which I charge this Pret-a-Manger card with, so I can come here and have a coffee on that card. And these are tickets that people have donated, you know, from their boss, who gives it to them, and they give it to me. And I don't ask for money. Sometimes they just give me these meal vouchers, you know, and it's nice of them. So I packed up the tent. It took me 2 hours because I rearranged the suitcase. It was cold, the jacket was missing, and you could imagine, you know, you take a little bit longer when your fingers aren't moving as fast as they normally move, because it was quite cold at that time. And then I went across the road, and luckily that awesome police officer was there, and it was his entire shift that was on. And they're all wonderful. They're really, really good top cops, I call them. So for me to say that, you could imagine how good these police officers are over here. 8th District, best station, the best station so far that I have experienced. And he was very fair, actually. And you know, and I said, look, we're having this issue with the tent again. I said it's a communication barrier, and the lady that I had the agreement with was on shift, but she was out on the road. So I left the police statement with him. I actually made a police statement, and he did it for me, and I signed it. And it was about the jacket and the stolen restaurant tickets, you know, €218 all up, which was missing approximately. And then I wanted to leave a letter for the other police officer, the female who gave me consent to put the tent there. And I wanted to only talk to him because he's very proficient in English. And the other officers that walked into the station, you know, approximately half an hour later, they weren't as proficient in English as he was. So when I finished writing the note for the other female police officer, as I explained, who initially allowed me to put the tent there in view of the police station, I had a sort of an arrangement to write the note and give it to him, the man who took my statement, and this was the agreement, and that he would pass it on to her, because he could explain it to her in English, because the lady who gave me consent can understand English, it seems, very well, but she doesn't speak it very well. And this man who took my statement speaks and understands it fluently. So I wrote the note, and he was waiting outside because that was his duty at the time, of me finishing a 4-page note to this female police officer. And of course then we had someone new behind the desk. Again, another language barrier. And he said to me, give me the note and I'll give it to him. And I said, no, look, I'm sorry, I want to give it to him because I needed to explain a few things on there. And, you know, he speaks really good English and he's been dealing with me all morning, so I prefer to give it to him myself so I can explain to him in English. And he said, no, you can leave the note here and I will give him the note. And I said, no, I will give him the note directly. Again, because his language is proficient in English, and I had to explain a few things to him. So it worked out that I wrote the note and gave it to him. But you know, these things, this is a misunderstanding, and people can often take these things the wrong way. So guys, I really wanted to make this clear, you know. When you come to France or any other country that is non-English speaking, try to learn the language. and I will within time. Thanks for watching. Viva La Fonse and ciao for now.